the sweat electrolytes were discovered, and that was when the sweat test was first started used, and still really used today, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I know what was used for my diagnosis. In 1955, the CF Foundation was started in Philly, which was news to me, so I think that's pretty cool. Fast forward from then to almost exactly 30 years to 1985. I think I had some pictures, I don't know for sure, but in 1985, in a small town in the most northern of Michigan, I was born. Oh, yay! I'm just so excited to have been born, as you can see. My parents, oh, okay, it's just gonna keep going. All right. A couple years later, in 1988, the first mutation was discovered, which is Delta F508, which happens to be my mutation. Also in 1988, Also in 1988, I was diagnosed with CF. A couple of years from then, which some of these pictures you saw, I became a second big sister. As you could see, well, not anymore, but as you could see if you looked, at a pretty young age, I was already being surpassed in height and weight from my brothers. And I have CF, which if you're not completely aware, it's a recessive gene. So I have both genes, which make me have CF. One of my brothers is a carrier and one of my brothers is not. So my parents pretty much hit the genetic lottery with the three of us. I'm sort of gonna use the pictures to like guide what I was going to say, but I'll just go based off of the little notes that I wrote instead. Let's see, in the late 90s, 1997 to be exact, the first inhaled antibiotic of its kind for CF specifically. Up until this point, you know, the majority of our medications were symptom-based. It was just kind of controlling the issues that we were having, but none of the medication was actually for CF. And then in the late 90s, like I said, 1997, the first inhaled antibiotic for CF, called tobramycin, or Toby for short, was approved by the FDA. It was such an intense medication, actually, that when we first started it at home, they sent the medication with a bunch of home nurses. They're all sitting around with their EpiPens, waiting for, you know, the worst to happen, just in case, because it was such a powerful medication that, you know, some of our bodies were not able to handle it. Thankfully, my body handled it fine. Let's see. All right, we'll just keep going. I had a picture, I don't know if you guys noticed, there was a political cartoon up there that actually came out in the early 2000s, but it was relevant before then, and it's even more relevant now. And it's, you know, a pharmacist has his hand out to the woman, and he says, you know, your money or your life. And ever since I was young, I understood that thoroughly, and I think it's, unfortunately, has become relevant for relatively healthy people and people who just need, you know, a few things at the pharmacy, let alone medications like Toby, like Pulmozyme, like a few other medications that maybe you've heard. You know, if you try to go to the pharmacy without insurance, which did happen to me one time, and you know, they tried to charge me out the door with like a $15,000 bill, which I don't know who's paying that at a pharmacy, but you know, bless their hearts for trying. We jump around now to fast forward to 2006, and that is, let's see, 3 years after I graduated high school. I was looking through some dates and through some notes, and I felt like this audience would appreciate this. In 2006, the Steelers won the Super Bowl. And my Detroit Tigers lost in the World Series to the St. Louis Cardinals, but
we made it to the big game, so I had to represent that. The other thing in 2006 was that our life expectancy took a dramatic jump into the 30s and closer to 40s, where most of my life, especially my childhood, it was, we were rarely making it out of childhood, hardly making it out of our teen years, and definitely not thinking that we would see, our 30s or our 40s. So in the 10 years that groups like Pittsburgh's 50 Finest were around, we took a huge jump in life expectancy, and I don't believe in coincidences, but I know for a fact that it's not a coincidence that when groups like this are doing the work that they're doing, you see life expectancy doubling, you see medications quadrupling, you see people like me who never thought that they would have a relatively normal life actually kind of being able to have a normal life. This picture here is these couple pictures here are pictures from a few years back when my CF started catching up with me and I was actually having to spend more time in the hospital than usual, and I was being visited by kids I worked for. This here is a prescription from one of my favorite doctors. It says, dance to Daft Punk's Lose Yourself at least once a day. He knew my favorite things were music and moving, and it's really a big part of our life, obviously, our doctors, but being able to not see us as patients, not see us as sick people, but really learn who we were as, actual people. Let's see. I wanted to touch on a couple of other things that also have happened within those years. We talk about a lot about, if you guys have heard, the modulators. So that's the medicine that I was talking about that's finally coming out that actually beats and gets to CF at a cellular level, as opposed to, like I was saying, symptom-based meds, and things where everybody in the past, was just kind of trying to bat at the disease any way they could. But with a lot of these new medications, they're actually able to fight the disease at its core. Let's see, 2006, a few years later, around 2011, I started moving around the country. So I'm from Michigan, if you missed that. In 2011, I started moving around the country with the family that I was a nanny for. For the longest time, I was a pretty, I was more like a regular person, if you will. My CF hadn't really caught up to me through medication, through, being active, through work done, through, the foundation and groups like y'all. I was able to maintain a relatively normal life, really, until, the disease slowly started to catch up with me, and back to that picture. I just love that picture so much. I was all of 5 minutes old and just so stoked to be alive. And so this is the picture that I was talking about from 1988, here with my brother who's here with me tonight. And that's 89 with my other brother. And the next picture, I think, is where you see that pretty quickly I was being surpassed in height and weight. We had just started on CF medication at that point. This picture is from the mid-90s, so then this would be lined up with pretty much exactly the time that this group was started. So I think that's pretty awesome. Oh, there's the picture that I was talking about. The picture before that, as you saw, a pretty graphic representation of normal lungs and CF lungs. This here is an image from the Great Strides team that we have worked on. The team that my team named, Cole's Bronies. Here, this is a picture. This is actually my boyfriend's mom. When I moved to San Diego, it opened up a whole new world of CF fundraising that we don't get to do in Michigan. It was a wipeout CF. It was like a CF surf competition, which was just so cool to me. That doesn't, surfing competitions don't exist in Michigan. So, yeah, these are also, this was the hospital pictures from when I was in San Diego as well, being visited by the kids that I worked for and that I actually lived with for over 10 years before I actually, my CF started catching up with me, and then that's when I ended up moving to Pittsburgh to start the transplant process, but that's a TED Talk for a different day. This picture is actually very cool. It was while I was in the hospital in San Diego, I had lost my specialty insurance, which is pretty much a death sentence for somebody with CF. The majority of our medication is specialty based, and I was stuck in the hospital. My doctors didn't want to release me because I would be going home to no medication, and I was in the hospital for weeks and months on end, which was completely foreign to me. I had never been admitted long term. Like I keep saying, I was always a pretty healthy CF patient. So to be stuck in the hospital and not know what to do with myself was super confusing and super struggling. And so what I decided to do was just start reaching out to local representatives. I just started writing people and calling people and telling them my story and explaining to them that I can't get insurance, I can't get covered, everything's taking too long, everything is way too delayed, nobody's getting back to me, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, who's gonna help me, who's supposed to give me insurance, who's supposed to do for me what I need done for me. And it took a little bit, but I actually finally heard back from one of the representatives that I wrote to. It was actually, I wrote to them on a Monday. It was a Wednesday that I heard back from them, and actually by Friday I was released from the hospital, home with insurance. And yeah, it sucks that you have to chase people down and hunt people down for help, but I got it, and it was exactly what I needed. It kept me out of the hospital, it kept me well, and then of course that office wanted to, parade me around so I could show everybody how great they were. But it was cool to get that. As you can see, it was like this pretty big certificate of outstanding citizen excellence. And I think it said in the bottom, for reaching out and letting your political representatives help you, which is rare, honestly. And yeah, that was a crazy time, actually. Let's see, while I was in San Diego, another specialty medication came out called Orkambi, and that's a long story for me also. It didn't end up helping me as much as it helped others, and it kind of made me a little bit nervous to try new medications, but the fact of the matter is it was helping the kids with CF, younger ages with CF, so much more. And for us elder CFers, a lot of times we don't think certain things are going to help us or certain things are going to be beneficial to us, but a lot of us feel like as long as it's helping the youth, then we you know, we feel great about it. As long as younger kids don't have to struggle the way we felt like we've had to struggle, it really, at the end of the day, helps us feel that much better. Just in general, knowing that there's medications out there, so kids don't have to have the same life expectancy, so kids don't have to grow up thinking that they're not gonna have, you know, a 21st birthday, or a lot of years I never thought I would see a 30th birthday. Actually, next month I will have my 40th birthday. I have a handful of friends. I've lost a lot of best friends. There's a lot of people that, you know, when I think about sharing and when I think about talking, and there's a voice inside of my head, you know, that says like, oh, people don't care. People are, you know, everybody has their sad stories. Everybody knows somebody who's sick. Everybody's always asking people for money. People don't want to give you money. You just constantly have that voice in the back of your head, you know. And in all honesty, you know, I feel like how thankful I am for all of you. And the other part of it is that, you know, I do it for them. Honestly, I just know that they're with me on this stage. When I think about my nerves, or I think about doing things like putting a dress on, or like putting makeup on, things that I like are super foreign to me, wearing a bra, like all of my disinterest, I just know that if they could, they would, and they can't, so I will. I had like this timeline of like all of these dates and all of these numbers and all of these things that I wanted to share and all these things that I wanted to talk about, and I like wrote them all down on this index card like it was gonna matter. I thought I had my pictures. I was like, oh, I'm gonna put them in chronological order, and I'm gonna have a story for every picture, and I'm gonna have a joke for every story, and it's all going to shit. But I'm usually better at like impromptu. Like, asked me a few weeks ago, and I was like, I don't know, do I want to? But if I was here in the moment, I would have been like, give me the mic, I've got something to say. So I'm just gonna like breathe through the rest of this. And like, let me know obviously if I'm going too long, because I don't know how to count. This picture hopefully doesn't offend anybody's delicate sensibilities. A girlfriend of mine, one of my very best friends, she was in the hospital once again on her multiple double lung transplant. Her body had developed chronic rejection syndrome, which, if you're not familiar with it, is terrible. Your body basically crashes anytime you try to give medication, anytime you try to give a transplant, all of the things. And she was literally on her deathbed and refused to lose her sense of humor. She was creative, she was beautiful, she is creative and beautiful and funny, and till the very end she was making things and selling things, and she didn't care who she offended, she didn't care who she upset, because really, you know, like, F U, CF. The reality, the moral of the story. I know people experience it for a lot of different reasons and a lot of different things, but the reality is that survivor's guilt is a very real thing, and it's something that I struggle with daily. And when I get to have moments like this, and I get to share about the reality of these things, how no matter how crappy and uncomfortable it may be, the reality of situations, because of groups like, I'm blown away by seeing the numbers that you guys have raised. I said these people. Seeing these numbers that you guys have raised blows my mind because I'm living proof of the work that you guys do. I will take medication the rest of my life. I'm not sure if you saw some of the pictures. I'm like camping, I have my vest on, doing treatments on the way to festivals. I will do all of the things that you guys raise money for because it keeps me alive, it keeps me going. I will live forever feeling guilty about being alive because it's way better than the alternative. I just appreciate so much, not only you guys being here tonight, the alumni who have been doing this for almost as long as I've been alive. It's not a coincidence that the 30 years that you guys have been around, my life expectancy has doubled at the very least. It's not a coincidence. I'm grateful, I'm thankful, I'm overwhelmed, I'm motivated, I'm inspired. I feel like, at the end of tonight, as much as you guys might feel the need or the desire to thank me or to thank my family or whatever, I really just want you guys to thank each other. Because you guys are the ones that have done the work, you guys are the ones that are out there fighting. I can't fight for myself all the time. Most times I can't. I don't have the energy, I don't have the desire, I don't have the will. So to know that there are people in my corner, strangers in my corner, that was something that was really mind-blowing to me. The CF Foundation, it was originally a grassroots organization. It was the mothers of patients who were like, what can we do for our children? What can be done? And they only could fight for us and fight for ourselves. And I was just blown away when I came to Pittsburgh and I started meeting people who they didn't know anybody who has CF. And I was like, do you work for the CF Foundation? That was so foreign to me, and I'm just so grateful and so thankful. Take a shot every time Nicole says she's grateful. Y'all will black out. But I really truly am. So honestly, please thank yourselves, please thank each other. And yeah.